You are welcome back to the channel. And as you may know, what has been trending in Ghana for a couple of weeks is the Russian guys saga, whereby a Russian guy, a foreign Russian, came into Ghana. And not only in Ghana, he was actually in other African countries before he came into Ghana to actually do whatever he had to do here, which was quite not wholesome. So he's a pickup artist that came to Ghana to actually speak to some Ghanaians, women, and then pick some vibe with them. And later on, they ended up in his apartment. And unknowing to them, he was actually wearing a metal glass that was recording every act that they were into. Some of the videos he actually is selling them on his Telegram platform. So he has monetized the whole act. The women didn't consent to it. Not that they agreed to whatever he did, but unknowing to them, they gave him their trust, and then unknowing to them, he actually was using it for something else. So there's a whole lot of discussions that has come up from this particular issue. Now, this trip, we have Ghana's Communication Minister, Honorable Sam Nate George, who has been working tirelessly to make sure that this particular person is brought to book. But he's facing some difficulties.
Even if we had a mutual, let's be clear, and the ambassador made that point, that even if we had signed the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, the MLAT, with Russia, the Russian constitution supersedes any such treaty. And the Russian constitution is clear. Russia will not extradite any of its citizens for prosecution. But you see, there are far-reaching consequences to the steps we're taking. If the gentleman is not extradited because of the provisions of the Russian constitution, what we have done and what we will conclusively do by working through Interpol to get the international arrest warrant is that we will confine him to the precincts of Russia. Because as soon as he steps outside of Russia into any other country, he'll be picked up.
Earlier today, we had the ambassador of Russia to Ghana saying that the name that was provided to be the pickup artist, the guy's name, is actually not a Russian identity. It's not a Russian name, but actually happens to be like something like a Russian, I don't know, something not particularly related to a particular person, but more like a word in Russia. And it sounded a bit funny to most of us because, it didn't sound so well. But later on, funny enough, there's an ID card. There's the image right now, the official image of the guy is out, and his ID card has also been released on the internet. I don't know why the ID card was released. I don't know whether it's right for them to release his ID card, no matter, regardless of whatever crime he committed. But then the ID card is on the media, and then he's called Vladislav. That's the name on the ID card. And he's born on 19th September, I think, 1989. He's quite a matured man, and it's quite surprising that a matured man of his age had to actually get involved in something like this. But then it happened. So what Honorable Sam Nate George is actually saying that the Russian authorities are not willing to allow this guy to actually come and face the consequences of his action. They don't want to extradite him, not because they don't want to, but the thing is, the Russian Constitution in their article 61 of the Russian Constitution clearly states that no Russian citizen will be extradited to another country, no matter how bad whatever crime he has committed is. So this is not exclusive to Russia. There are some countries that don't allow their citizens to be extradited to another country because they believe that they have to protect their own citizens' sovereignty and their legal rights. Okay, so whatever they've done in another country, they believe that they have the sole right to handle them or deal with them per their laws. Okay, so they are not allowing the Ghanaian authority to sort of get their hands on this particular guy because their rules or their laws clearly, emphatically, strictly goes against extraditing any citizens of their country. Not like our own that we allowed the US to actually extradite Abu Trika. But I believe these things, it's quite delicate. It's not as easy as it looks, though you might want to do the comparison, because I feel before you want to actually implement some of these laws, you have to be a sovereign country, a country that is independent you don't rely on other people for your survival. So if, like, say Ghana say we not be independent like that too. Yeah, and even though we claim we had our independence in 1957, but technically we are not independent like that. So we can't implement these laws not to extradite any of our citizens to some of these countries if they claim they've wronged them or they've committed a crime against them. Because eventually you will need their help, and then if you need their help and they ask you something and you don't do, so yeah, sounds say so we no go fit do that one. But Russia, on the other hand, are quite okay, and they don't rely on us too much. They don't need us so much to the extent that they saying no to us will bring them any wahala. So they say no. They will go by their rules. They will go by their legal system. So they no send one a papa. They no send one a girl. See them for go do them myself. Yawa obiya and small. I don't know can no be me where they talk. I they beg you. Obiya and small. So among koye among nyoma bi nenko fa asem bra. So asem pe nimpa nepa ne ho asem. So according to them, the guy will remain in Russia and they will deal with them. So this is in actual terms is more or less like you did a neighborhood, right? And a kid has gone out to play. Okay, and whilst he's playing, he commits a very bad thing. Maybe you are far the ball between. He takes something and hits somebody, another kid, where the kid they bleed. Where the kid run go in mommy in house or in poppy in house, in parents in house. Then the other kid in family carried arms, see the blood they ooze and say, oh, make you go the kid in mommy in house, make you go punish the kid because near iron and yet. So you go the kid in house where the parent they talk. You say in the parents in this case, I'm just making an analogy. In this case, is Russia, right? And they will say that no, even though we admit that our kid may have done the wrong thing, but we won't allow you to discipline our kid. We know what's the best way to discipline, because from how you are very angry and then you are approaching this issue, we don't trust you so much. Hey, Charlie, on how you handle our citizens. So our law says that even though I am born, and no matter what you have to do, you can do. But we will deal with him internally. Okay, so this is the whole feedback loop of what is happening. And Sam George, Sam Nate George, who happens to be the Minister of Communication, says that, okay, Semo say, this is what will happen. We will talk to the area boys, everybody around this area, that this particular kid or Yakwala body, he's not a good kid. So if you deal with the kid in your house, that's fine. That's your own problem. You can't come into your room and take the kid out. But anytime he steps out of the house, any of the area people, when they see him, they should bring him to us and we will deal with him. So that's where Sam Nate George has actually contacted he said he will contact, I don't know whether he's already made the contact, but the Interpol red list that this guy has been put on. Now, Interpol red list is more or less like an international wanted, like they've put you on the international wanted list. Okay, that's anywhere you go in this world. When you step your leg in any country, airports, you will be grabbed. So that at least whatever you did in this particular country will not end up affecting other countries as well, because it's a crime. If your country will not allow us to deal with you, we will find a way to deal with you if you step out of the country. So this is what is happening. This is what Honorable Sam Nate George has planned. And I don't know how feasible this is. I don't know how this thing will develop, but then it's obvious that the guy will not step out of Russia. If I were him, I wouldn't step out. I doubt he would like to step out, since he knows these stories are on the internet. So I'm sure he's probably aware that he's been put on the Interpol red list. So it go hard say he go step out, say nah, or go another country to do any of these things, because so I think the future of this thing is quite clear. I don't know whether he'll be brave enough to actually step out of Russia, or I don't know what the Russian authorities there to deal with. Lawfully, I don't know how they will handle him there. Maybe they will make things uncomfortable for him to the extent that he will actually step out. Even though not all countries subscribe to the Interpol red list thing, but then again, most countries, about 190 something countries subscribe to it, if I'm not mistaken. And most of them, if you step your you so at the end of the day, Charlie, I think if I'm predicting this, the guy will perhaps stay in Russia and maybe this story will die off and it will be one of those cases that you will just talk about and then forget about it. Yes, so I think that's it. But I don't know whether that will directly affect the international relation between Ghana and Russia. I don't think it will. This is just one of those cases. There are more, I believe, pressing cases that has to be dealt with. So that is what is happening. That's the development in relation to the Russian pickup artist that actually came to Ghana and a certain part of Africa to display his skill, whatever it is. And this whole thing has generated a lot of feedbacks, and a lot of people have given in their suggestion. I don't know what you think about it, whether it's an issue of exploitation or maybe the women involved should have been more careful or they should have been more conscious or intentional about the securities and the person they were actually hanging out with, or you think it's just one of those things and it was just a passing wind and it will die off, or what do you think at the end of the day? If you have any idea of what you think that's Charlie, it could be done to actually bring this guy to face the consequences of our laws. I think you can add your opinion to that. But for now, Russia said that send your papa. Send your papa. Yes, small say mo munkoya madi ti say nipa no abeya ade no abafia ye njan no na mo mbeche no nko. I mean, it's some way, but then again, that's it. So that is what is happening in relation to the Russian guy and the pickup artist display that he did in Ghana and certain section of Africa and even a certain part of the world as well. Charlie, stress. Unfortunately, we have to say sorry to our sisters that were involved. But the way this case is looking, it looks like it will be one of those cases that at the end of the day, it will just be one of those things that you will just use it as a way to advise other people. Unfortunately, that's how I see it. But I don't know. Let's see how it happens. But I'm here. If anything pops up, I will be here to update you. The name remains Donald, not Trump. And it's nice to always do this with you. And thank you for always doing this with us. And I'll see you on the other side. Peace.